One of the dangers, one of the pitfalls of doing a podcast like this is you can tend to pontificate and start lecturing and talking down. So I try to avoid that because that's one of the worst things you can do. In the same context, you don't want to come across as you don't want to be too intelligent, and there's no danger of that. So thank God for that. But there are other broadcasters that they come across as too clever and they use big words. No danger of that from my side. So a little thing I learned. So I don't want to lecture you and pretend I know it all, but one of the things I learned is just be nice. To be nice, you should be not to get rewards, but you're just doing it because that's the right thing to do. But here's a classic example. The gate went on the blink. Gate went on the blink on Friday. It didn't work. They came and fixed it in inverted commas. Half an hour later, the gate broke again. So you don't go Karen about it. It was already 5 o'clock in the afternoon on a Friday. You don't go Karen about it. Someone a bit Karen-ified would start phoning the gate company. Come back! I don't care if it's nearly Shabbos. You come and fix this damn gate. No, I just said, listen, I spoke a bit too soon. Can you come back Monday? With these electric gates, there's a way of locking it. There, by the motor, there's a round little wheel thing you turn, and that locks it. So not a problem. It's not a danger. Are we going to have Bernice, are we going to have an open gate, an unlocked gate the whole weekend? I had to explain to her, no, I'm going to lock it. Are you sure? And she didn't believe me. And I had all this, anyway, a bit of tension there about the gate. Did you pay them? I said, no. They send the invoice much later. In fact, these particular gate people, they're actually very bad at sending invoices. They take a long time, which is a good thing. Thank you very much. Because my cash flow, could do with a bit of help every now and again. So what happens? Because I was nice, because I was pleasant, I just said, oops, gate didn't work. Can you please come back on Monday? What happened? They arrived now this morning, 8:30, fixed the gate. All very pleasant. They replaced the battery, which I'll go into that in a moment. But again, some people are very rude when why didn't you fix the gate properly, when they arrive? No, hello, how are you? You know what? I almost offered them a cup of tea. Can you believe it? But they were here for less. They were here for less than 5 minutes. So I wasn't going to start making tea. But with load shedding, and one of the things with load shedding, and maybe you've learned this as well, certain things there are, besides the obvious consequences, the battery of the gate doesn't last very long. And this battery was not even 2 years old because of load shedding. So the gate had to work on the battery for longer than expected. Another consequence of load shedding is my computer, my desktop, is not doing well, because if you got your computer on a desktop and it gets switched off, the power goes out. It damages the hard drive. So there you go. Okay, I hope that maybe I'll edit that part out. Maybe that was too lectury. I don't want to lecture you. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. Okay, the elephant in the room is normally something that I know about and you know about, but this is just something I know about. So it's not really elephant in the room. I joined Patreon. What is Patreon? Patreon, I've been very reluctant to join it because it's a bit rachmanis. It's almost like a crowdfunding. If you watch or listen to this podcast, you can donate money to me, Darren Calvari. So I'm asking for you to donate money. Patreon. I don't know. I don't think it's that. They can't do any. It's not exactly that user friendly, because if you're going to be a Patreon buyer or donator, you have to join Patreon yourself. You also have to register on Patreon, exactly the same way I registered. But Anyway, I don't want you to go crazy. You know, rather, if you got extra money, donate rather to the Chevra Kadisha or the Gift of the Givers, or is Operation Hunger still around? Or other charities. If you've got a little bit left over after you've dealt with serious cases, yeah, you got 10 Rand, 5 Rand, Patreon me. Call me a Patreon. Because here's the thing. Bernice is giving me, she's calmed down a bit because I've sort of I've cut the hours down. Like I'm finished with this podcast by 9:30. So, but she says it's just a hobby. You're not making any money out of it. So she's not that happy about it. So I'm thinking, if you donate a little bit, it'll take the pressure off. But now it's like now this is like emotional blackmail. It's not right. It's not right. But there, I've done it. Emotional blackmail. Look at me. Look at me. Rahmana's shirt from Pick and Pay. I think it's about 10 years old. I haven't had hair. Okay, the haircut. Now, the haircut part. I know hair doesn't look so great. Because 1978, acceptable. But no, I got to do almost the Kim Jong-un. Who would have thought that Kim Jong-un's haircut is actually quite in? I'm delaying the haircut. I'm worried about this COVID-19. I've had the first Pfizer vaccine. I'm thinking to myself, you know what? Don't take any chances. These barbers, they aben on you. They aben on, which is Italian for on top of you while they cut your hair. You're breathing the same air. The last time I had a haircut, I actually had to ask the barber. They're all from India, by the way. Hard to speak a word of English. But it's cheap. It's like 50, 60 Rand for a haircut. I had to ask him to put a mask on, and he was very reluctant, and I could see he was rolling his eyes. I mean, you'd think I just kicked him out of Kashmir. You'd think. Or, I don't know, took all the water out of the Ganges. He didn't look happy. So he put the mask on. So I thought to myself, you know what, he obviously doesn't wear the mask very often. He could be patient bloody zero. He could be the second Wuhan source of infection. I'm not taking any chances. So I had the haircut. That was a couple of 4 months ago. Thought to myself, you know what? I dodged the bullet. I dodged death. I dodged the ventilator. Let me not take another chance. I'm due for a second vaccine, second Pfizer vaccine in 2 weeks' time. So that's another 2 weeks. Actually, it's less than 2 weeks. It's less than 2 weeks. It's a week. Today's the 23rd. It's 6 days. I'm going next Sunday for my second Pfizer. And then I'm going to wait another 2 weeks for everything, for all the antibodies to build up. Let the Pfizer do its thing. And then I'll go for a haircut. By then I'd look like, I don't know, when Paul McCartney was very disheveled with the long, horrible hair. I was thinking of another character, but yeah. That's the problem with, I'm not doing edit. By the way, no editing anymore. Little trade secret. When I used to only do audio, if I forgot a name, I would quickly pause, and then I'd look up the name, and then I'll carry on record. But now I'm doing video. This is on YouTube as well, and I don't know how to edit video. I'm not getting involved with video. I mean, it's just too much. So that it may mean that the quality of this podcast may not be up to the standard that you are accustomed to. But I'm doing my best. On Friday, as I left you in the last episode, I said to you, you know what, it's the weekend. Why don't you do something constructive? Do something positive during the weekend. So don't just lie back and do nothing, because then it might take the pressure off Monday, and maybe do a bit of work. And then I admitted that I've never done that. So I come back to you now on Monday morning, and I can declare, I did nothing. But I've got a good excuse. I've got a good reason. First of all, I've got to cut down on the burping, but I'll talk about that in a moment. if I start doing admin on the weekend and I send my customers invoices, then they see that I'm working on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Bad move. That sends the wrong message. That tells them that I'm working on the weekends. I'm not doing that. It's like, have you ever done work after midnight or late at night and you send an email to a work colleague or to your boss? You send an email at 1 o'clock in the morning or 11 o'clock at night. Bad move. Bad move. You're sending the message that you don't have a life and you can be abused and you're always available 24 hours a day. No, don't do that. It's a big mistake. So even though I run my own business, I've got to do this. I've got to do the same thing. A couple of months ago, my one customer, bless her, one of my fragrance customers, she phoned me on a Saturday morning. You know what? Got to admit this. I blocked her. I blocked her. But you know what? I recently unblocked her. But that's a couple of months later. Thought to myself, give her one more chance. I'll unblock her. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see how that goes. So last week it was all Afghanistan, and I said something along the lines of, let's be honest, when are we going to stop talking about Afghanistan? Okay, we're almost there, nearly there, be patient, almost there about forgetting about Afghanistan. US President Biden says that the deadline is the 31st of August to evacuate everybody out, but the word is now, the latest update is that he's going to extend the date until everybody is out of Afghanistan. And he said that Afghans who worked for America, who helped Americans, the American military, etc., they will have a home in America. So I don't know how many Afghans are going to be going into America. We'll see that, and I think it's great. I mean, that's that's the right thing to do. Look after these people. But they say that there will be a lot of people left behind. And yeah, this is my prediction. And unfortunately, this is what's going to happen. You're going to have racist, right-wing, horrible, Republican Americans that are going to complain about my neighbor is an Afghan. Hey, that kind of nonsense. That's what is going to happen. Vladimir Putin. Well, that's just my prediction. Maybe I shouldn't have even mentioned that. Maybe I'm, you know what? I shouldn't have mentioned that. It's not really relevant. It's just like a little. I like to predict things, and then if I'm right, it makes me feel good. It's pathetic. It's really pathetic. I mustn't do that. So Vladimir Putin, he has demanded, this is what he says, President of Russia, he has demanded that countries not interfere in Afghanistan after the fall of Kabul, saying the West must stop the irresponsible policy of imposing foreign values from abroad. Putin said he hoped the Taliban would guarantee the security of locals and foreign diplomats, and that the country would not break apart after the withdrawal of US-led forces. Putin, look, Russia had its fair interference in Afghanistan historically. Granted, it wasn't Putin himself back then. When was it? 60s, 70s, 80s, maybe late 70s, sort of 80s. So, but still, you still represent Russia, and people in glass houses, etc. The thing that drew me more, which caught my attention more about Vladimir Putin over the weekend. Vladimir Putin brought flowers. He met German Chancellor Angela Merkel. They met in the Kremlin. Bought her a bouquet of flowers. And I don't know, would you accept a bouquet of flowers from Vladimir Putin? I mean, they could be poisoned. These guys are the Russians. They're famous for their poison. So if I was Angela Merkel, I would have just remained calm. Danke, danke. Would have given a danke, danke. and then I would have whispered to my security, Achtung, Achtung, like a little whisper, schnell, schnell, put them in the vase, put them in a vase, put them in a special vase, maybe with some special water, with maybe if you can get an antidote for, like you get these broad spectrum antidotes, maybe just some broad spectrum, an anti-nerve agent antidote, just to be safe. I mean, you never know. See, here it is. You see now, Angela Merkel, this is going to be it's likely, they say, likely her last visit, because she's retiring soon. But who knows, these Russians are so sophisticated. Could be a nerve agent, gets into Angela Merkel's bloodstream, but 8 months later, she's retired. She's in Berchtesgaden, there in the castle, looking over the lake. There in Berchtesgaden, because she was the chancellor, after all. And suddenly she flips over. Nerve agent. And you can't trace it. But it really boggles the mind. And how, I don't know, the hypocrisy that goes on with the world leaders. So there's Angela Merkel. She's accepting a bouquet of flowers from Vladimir Putin. Everybody knows. It's like the worst kept secret. This man is a murderer. He has journalists assassinated. He imprisons, or he hasn't assassinated them yet, he'll imprison them. He imprisons or murders political opposition leaders. And they still meet, the world leaders still meet him, shochel their hands, and they might even give it. Well, with COVID, maybe not so much the hugging and the kissing anymore. Just seems strange. Just seems strange about the double standards that goes along. That didn't sound right. That occurs. And something that I should have mentioned, talking about double standards, something that I should have mentioned weeks ago, but then it slipped my mind. This is not a sports show. We know this is not a sports show. But you know the whole story with Casa Semana. So Casa Semana was told, too much testosterone in your bloodstream. It's not natural. It is natural for Casa, but it's unfair. It gives you an unfair advantage for the 800 meters against other women. But you know what? You can run longer distances. You can run 5,000 meters, because if you run 5,000 meters, testosterone, the higher than normal levels of testosterone is not advantageous. So there you go. And then I'm watching the Olympic Games 2 weeks ago, and there's two young Namibian sprinters. Can't remember their names, but the one got the bronze medal. She did very well. So the two Namibian athletes, they're in the 200 meters. And the commentator says they normally do the 100 meters, but they're not allowed to do the 100 meters. They've been moved to the 200 meters because of elevated levels of testosterone. I thought to myself immediately, but 200 meters is still a sprint. 200 meters is still a short distance. The elevated levels of testosterone is still an advantage. And it didn't make any sense from a Casa Semana point of view, because she, just hang on, okay, just checking if the video is still working. Oy, this video thing is, I don't know if it's working out so well. Anyway, but Casa Semana can't do the 800 meters because of her elevated levels of testosterone. So I don't understand. Maybe I'm missing something there. Maybe Casa Semana's testosterone levels are through the roof, much higher than those two Namibian athletes. Don't know. Because how can those two Namibian athletes do the 200 meters, but Casa Semana isn't allowed to do the 800 meters? But as I say, let's just speed this along, because this is not a sports show. So the latest story is that the research that was conducted that said something about, that proved or deduced that the higher levels of testosterone is an advantage for Casa semana. They found that there was an actual word for it which I can't remember. There's a fault. The study was never reliable. That's the line. The study was never reliable. So the insinuation is that there's a loophole now, and Casa semana can go back to the IAAF and say, listen, that research that you used to kick me out is not reliable. So there we are. So that's where we are now with the whole Casa semana thing. But it's very awkward. It's very awkward. It's like you get fired from your job. You take your employers to the CCMA, or take them to the Labour Court, and they rule that it was an unfair dismissal and they must employ you back, and you go back to work. So you arrive back at work, and you know people don't want you there. They know that you're irritating. They know that you have bad attitude. They know that you're arrogant. They know that you look down on them. You spit on them. They know that you don't respect the corporate culture. Corporate culture. That's what they'll tell you about. Corporate culture. So do you really want to go back to that work? I mean, rather get a payout. So, same thing with Casa semana. Well, it's not exactly the same. Casa semana is going to say she gets back. I mean, there's still a lot of there's what's it called? The European Grand Prix. It used to be called the Grand Prix season. Then it was called the Golden League. Now it's called the Diamond League. The Diamond League there's still Thursday. It's Brussels, or Thursday is Paris. Saturday is Brussels, and then the following week, I think they're in Zurich. It's called the Weltklasse. The Zurich. This is not a sports show. The point of the matter is there's still some meetings left that Casa semana can run. But she's gonna line up. She's gonna arrive at the track. She's gonna look at all the other female athletes. They're gonna look at her. She knows that she's not welcome. I mean, yeah. Is she that thick-skinned? I suppose maybe she is. Maybe she feels that she's a real victim of an injustice. And she doesn't feel uncomfortable about the whole situation. Look, she still competed quite a bit when there was a whole dark cloud of testosterone over her head. So maybe she can still do it. Remains to be seen. But having said that, I don't know how fast these cases go on. Well, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but if I just look at previous kind of legal things, her ban can get suspended immediately. So theoretically, she can take part. She can take part while there's still a decision. But would you feel comfortable? I don't know. Anyway.